Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got a great show for you guys today. Thursday show. We're going to talk about some of the chaos inside the White House. We got Trump doing obstruction. Then we have, of course, what Republicans actually think about Trump. You're not going to be surprised, or maybe you will be surprised. But either way, it is going to be fucking awesome. Then we've got a lesson on why we should not be arming everybody. Thankfully, it is not a fatal lesson, but we'll get to that. Not to give up too much. Then we've got the food stamp stories from yesterday, as well as the TPP. It might be coming back. Here we go again. Here we go again. Okay. So we're a little bit late on the live stream. Apologize for that. Let some things come up. Last minute, as sometimes happens, things that I had to deal with. But like I said, we got a full show today, so we're going to get to it without beating around the bush too much. Please, before we start the show, actually, give us a like and a share. Helps us get out to more people. There's not a lot of you in the watching the stream today, so let's fix that. Let's fix that. So please give us a share. Sharing is caring. Okay. That said, let's go to our first story. Let's talk about Trump. Okay. Okay. Now, President Trump has had a little bit of a difficult week, and he is not taking it well. According to a report in the New York Times, President Trump is so angry about Monday's raid on his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, that he has spent much of his time since then brooding, eating, and watching TV. Of course, you know what he's been watching. Cable news. Mostly Fox and Friends. So, look, you might be asking, okay, what's new about that? He's always been doing that. He's been doing that since day one. Brooding, eating, and watching TV, and just walking around angry. Well, we'll get to that. But first, to the report. Several people close to the president told the New York Times that Trump had what they described as a meltdown over the raid, which was related to Cohen making a $130,000 hush payment to the porn star Stormy Daniels. Now, it's not just about Stormy Daniels. There's also another woman that also allegedly received some hush money. So, of course, FBI is like, hey, man, look, we're going to go and investigate that. Now, that's not related to the Mueller investigation, it turns out. But they could actually give information to the Mueller campaign. Or, I'm sorry, to the Mueller investigation. So, well, that's interesting. Now, prior to the raid, which renewed concerns over whether Trump would attempt to fire special counsel Robert Mueller, the president was reportedly in a bad mood, spending the weekend doing little other than dining at the Trump International Hotel, watching Fox News, and bemoaning his lack of support. Again, none of that is surprising. We've all heard that before. And look, he keeps chasing his allies out of the White House. Either he chases them out or they end up quitting because they're also involved in some shady shit. So that's what we have going on there. And that's, again, pretty soon he's going to be out of allies inside the White House. And then it's going to get even more interesting. Now, two people familiar with the situation told the Times that the president had watched a Fox News piece about the so-called deep state working to bring him down, which pushed him further into a bad mood. After he viewed the program, Trump told advisors that he wanted to get rid of officials in the Department of Justice who he believes are working against him, including Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Now, look, Jeff Sessions is not a nice guy. I don't like Jeff Sessions. But he did the right thing in recusing himself from the Russia investigation. But that was seen as the ultimate betrayal of Donald Trump. How dare you not protect me? His job as the Attorney General doesn't mean that he's your personal attorney. Okay, Attorney General is supposed to enforce the law. Well, that doesn't mean, enforcing the law does not mean protecting the president. So, unfortunately, that's what he thinks. He's like, he's my Attorney General. He's supposed to protect me. No, he's not. He's supposed to enforce the law. He doesn't understand a damn thing about the law. And again, going back to his statements that he made on yesterday, how this raid on Michael Cohen is an attack on America. It's an attack on me. Dude, look, sometimes, and I know it's I'm a little, I don't know, I don't like using that term necessarily because it's such a heavy loaded term at this point. But fascism, that's what fascists do. Fascists believe that an attack on them is an attack on the country because they conflate themselves with the country. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is not America. Dear God, no. He's not America. He represents a small subsection of America, but he is not America. And again, that's something that dictators and fascists say. Oh, you attack me, you're attacking our country. Not at all true. Not at all true. The country is us. It is we the people, not we Donald Trump. Okay. Anyway. Now, as far as getting rid of Jeff Sessions, would he love to get rid of Sessions? Of course he would. Of course he would. Again, ultimate betrayal, right? And he, and to himself and his friends, he's like, oh my God, the fucking Jeff Sessions. I hate that guy. I can't believe he would do me like that. I cannot believe it. I can't believe he would betray me and not protect me against Robert Mueller. Why isn't he protecting me against Robert Mueller? That's not his job. That's not his job. He is actually doing his job. And again, I despise Jeff Sessions. I think he's terrible in about 50 different ways. But at least he's got the sense to say, I'm not getting involved. I am recusing myself. I'm out of here. So, but anyway, now what makes this different, this entire situation inside the White House different, is that Trump, again, is running out of allies inside the White House. For that, I go to Axios. Sources close to the president say that a political dispute with Special Counsel Mueller has turned visceral and personal after the Fed's raid on the New York offices of Michael Cohen. Now, again, that doesn't sound good, right? So he has very few allies in the White House, and he continues to believe that this entire thing is personal. One of the sources says that Mueller's investigation has been drip. This was a giant leap forward, a personal hit. They were moving in inches. Today, they moved a mile. What? And you think that won't have an impact? Again, that is Donald Trump's personal lawyer. Who knows what he knows? Although I suspect Mueller will soon know what he knows. Look, do you think this guy now has any loyalty towards Donald Trump? Again, Michael Cohen was promised a spot inside the administration, a spot inside the White House. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. He didn't even get repaid, as far as we know, that $130,000 he gave to Stormy Daniels. What loyalty does he have left? Especially when facing things like bank fraud and wire fraud. Those are serious charges. But if Mueller comes and says, hey, Michael, look, man, we can give you a plea deal. We can plead you down if you work with us. You don't think that's going to happen? Do you think Michael Cohen wants to spend years in prison? Decades in prison? For Donald Trump? Would anybody want to spend prison time for Donald Trump? A guy that shows you absolutely no loyalty, even if you show absolute loyalty to him. No. All he does is he cares about himself. And we all know this. Michael Cohen almost certainly knows this. So, there we go. Again, the FBI team that raided Cohen's office, they are allowed to share any data with Mueller that happens to be related to anything criminal. You don't think Donald Trump has anything criminal? It's very likely he has. And after that information passes through the unfortunately named taint team to make sure, of course, it doesn't violate attorney-client privilege, which I can assure Donald Trump is not dead. It's not dead. Look, I'm sure he'll be relieved, right? Look, he's in a world of hurt, and he knows it. And that, of course, has led to his deteriorating emotional state. In fact, the source continues, this is the first crisis post-Hope Hicks. This was different. I've never seen him like this before. This is the president you're going to see more of from here on out. Unvarnished and untethered. You know, if what we saw before was Trump tethered and varnished, oh man, we're in for some rough waters. Okay. Wow. We got more where that came from, so let's see. Now, President Trump does and says a lot of really dumb things. Between threatening Russia and North Korea with tweets, which can have a disastrous impact on the world, by the way, nuclear war and all that, going after nuclear power is not very smart. Not very smart. So that's dangerous to things that are not as serious, like, for example, how he referred to Puerto Rico, defending his slow aid to go to Puerto Rico. He referred to the ocean surrounding it as big water, ocean water. And when he was throwing towels to the survivors, these are big, beautiful, soft towels. They're normal towels. They're normal towels. Normal people don't talk like that and call everything big, beautiful, wonderful, tremendous. Okay, anyway. So look, he says and does a lot of dumb things. We know that. That's established. That's been established for a very, very long time. Now, it's understandable that some dumb tweets will fly a bit under the radar when it comes to the news cycle. I mean, after all, the news cycle is a target-rich environment. It's been moving at 100 miles a second. Scandal after scandal, bullshit tweet after bullshit tweet, dumb things after dumb things, right? So, again, it's not a surprise. Now, one of these tweets that should have actually gotten a lot more attention, and maybe it did, I'm not entirely sure where, are the tweets that clearly show Donald Trump admitting to obstruction of justice. Now, this is interesting. Now, yesterday, all that serious stuff was going on, and believe me, that was serious. That's why I covered it. Just threaten a foreign nuclear power and say the missiles are on their way. They're coming. They're coming. They're smart. They're new. No, you don't do that. That's stupid. Again, while all that stuff was going on, he also tweeted this. So much fake news about what's going on in the White House. Very calm and calculated with a big focus on open and fair trade with China. The coming North Korea meeting, and of course the vicious gas attack in Syria. Feels great to have Bolton and Larry K on board. That's Larry Kudlow, of course, who has never been right about anything in his career. He continues, we, in parentheses, are doing things that nobody thought possible, despite the never-ending and corrupt Russia investigation, which takes tremendous time and focus. No collusion or obstruction, parentheses, other than I fight back, parentheses. So now they do the unthinkable and raid a lawyer's office for information. Bad. Bad. What does he think he is? Does he think he's talking to a dog? Mueller, stop pissing on the carpet. Bad. Bad, Mueller. Get out of my bank accounts. Bad. But let's focus on this little snippet. All right, fun aside. No collusion or obstruction, parentheses, other than I fight back. So, if you want to understand why I'm focusing on that, well, let's read into it, right? Let's break it down. What he's doing is that he's essentially confessing to obstruction of justice while insisting that he is not obstructing justice. This man is monumentally dumb. Again, this is a guy who thinks he can sit down with Robert Mueller and outsmart him. He is painfully stupid. Mueller, he's running circles around him, okay? He's getting all of his evidence. He's doing these investigations. You've got 19 indictments. You've got people going to prison, all from the Mueller investigation, okay? And more to come. So he's being very, very methodical, and all while Trump is probably struggling to put on his pants in the morning. I mean, come on, man. Oh, please, Donald, please sit down with Mr. Mueller. Try to outsmart him with your tremendous brain. I mean, after all.
And then they say, "Is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person."
He's like a smart person. He's like a smart person. But look, here's what he's saying, right? I'm fighting back against an investigation. That is clear obstruction. But the funny thing is, he keeps claiming, well, it's not about me. It's not. Look, I'm not a person in the that's being investigated by Robert Mueller. I'm not being investigated at all. Well, then, if it's not about you, then why are you fighting back? What are you fighting back against? And why are you admitting to obstruction of justice? Ridiculous. Again, not a smart person. But look, he's done this before. Now, this isn't the first time. And maybe that's why this tweet went under the radar a little bit. Although some people did catch it. For example, Matt Miller, security analyst on MSNBC. He pointed out on Twitter, it takes a very stable genius to admit obstruction of justice on Twitter on 2 separate occasions, as Trump has now done. Washington Post blogger Greg Sargent also tweeted out, he noticed this, by saying I fight back in the context of obstruction, Trump just confirmed that actions on his part constitute potential obstruction have been deliberately intended as a response to the Russia probe. That's fun. And as Jonathan Chait notes in the New York Magazine, Trump's use of parentheses suggests some consciousness of guilt. He said, the key phrase here is no collusion or obstruction other than I fight back. When you say other than, you're conceding it fits into the larger category while identifying it as an exception. Now, he kind of used the example and kind of simplified it by saying, I didn't eat the cookies that you left out, other than the one that already had a bite out of it. But I didn't eat all the cookies that you left out, just that one. Well, there you go. But guys, you don't understand. He's a very stable genius, right? Look, what's funny is that there's a lot of Trump supporters out there that think, no. He's going to outsmart Robert Mueller. He's going to outsmart the investigation. He's playing three-dimensional chess. No, he's not. The guy's playing Go Fish. But look, even if you're a little bit skeptical, which I don't think you shouldn't be, because he's admitted obstruction of justice, right? Even obstructing an investigation, which, look, you could argue has absolutely no merit. I disagree with you based on the 19 indictments that already have happened, but okay, whatever. And the just throng of people that were kicked out of the White House due to this investigation. Okay, if you don't believe any of that, well, then you could at least believe in the rule of law, where he said, I'm going to obstruct justice. Look, he admitted it on camera. I mean, you go back and watch the video where it's very clear when he talked about why he fired Comey. It was because of the Russia stuff. He's like, yeah, I fired Comey because of Russia. That's obstruction of justice. You are consistently admitting to obstruction of justice. I mean, there is tape. There is tape. They don't understand that there's these things called video cameras that can record things that people can go back and watch later. But I'm sure Robert Mueller knows all about how tape works. But again, Trump is so monumentally dumb, monumentally stupid, that he goes around freely admitting obstruction, not only on camera, but also in tweets. Mueller's job Look, he's so dumb. He's made Mueller's job that much easier. Man. Okay. God, he's stupid. More stupid. Oh, that's not it. Hold. I think I forgot to put the... I did. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, well. I'll have to put one in later. Okay. So President Trump is deeply unpopular with the American people. That is unless you ask Republicans. There's a Gallup poll conducted between April 2nd and the 8th, which has Donald Trump at an 89% approval rating, job approval rating among Republican voters. They think that he is doing a tremendous job, that he's doing a fantastic job, and they love him for it. Now, that point of view differs between voters and Republican politicians, Republican congressmen. They view him a little bit differently. In fact, recently, a Republican congressman has expressed his true feelings about President Trump to fellow conservative Eric Erickson. Now, of course, he declined to give his name because he says, look, if I say this thing out loud, I'm going to get run out of town if I use my name. But if you agree not to publish my name, you can quote me. You can put me on the record. So, of course, they called him, I believe it was, hold. Oh, that's weird. Okay, anyway, not important. Now, this lawmaker, as I said, who was identified but is going on the record, said, quote, damn it, he's taking us all down with him. We are all well and truly fucked in November. If that's not clear enough, let's continue. Of course, he talks about Paul Ryan here. Kevin McCarthy is already circling like a green fly circling shit, trying to take Paul Ryan's job. Because nobody thinks he's sticking around for Nancy Pelosi. She's going to fuck up the cafeteria again, too. Now, look, I don't know what the cafeteria bit is about. But, hey, man, if she, leaves stuff in the sink, that's shitty. Pelosi, clean up your mess. Well, hopefully, of course, Pelosi will no longer be there. But nonetheless, okay. Now, he continues on that line of thought. God damn, at least I'll probably lose too and won't have to put up with that shit. Wow. Nice. Now, this quote was, of course, on the day that Paul Ryan announced that he was no longer running. So he's like, that pile of shit that was the job of the speaker, you can have it. I'm out of here. Kevin McCarthy, if you want this pile of shit, you can have it. I'm out of here. There's the door. I'm going through it. Screw you guys. I'm going home. All right. Now, look, it's beginning to look like this blue wave is going to crash right on top of their heads. And it's awesome. Now, let me give you an example of that, right? So I've got some numbers to back down or to back up the blue wave. There's a poll out recently where Trump is now losing white college-educated Republicans. Oh, that's interesting. Now, these people are typically faithful Republican voters. However, they've indicated via polling that they intend now to vote for Democrats, or more of them intend to vote for Democrats. Now, white people over 60 with college degrees now favor Democrats over Republicans for congressional seats by a 2-point margin, according to polling data released Monday by Reuters and Ipsos. While the lead is slim, it is 12 points removed from the same time period in 2016, when there was a 10-point lead for the Republicans. So understand, that is a 12-point shift away from the Republican Party. 10-point shift in the polls. That is insane. Not only that, but there's another poll out that's also incredibly relevant. This is from the Harvard Institute of Politics Spring 2018 Youth Poll. So basically, it found that younger people are going to vote in bigger numbers than we have seen before. It found that 51% of Democrats between the ages of 18 to 29 said that they will definitely vote in the election, compared to just 36% of Republicans in the same age, according to Axios. So, look, that is much higher than usual. Younger people vastly outnumber Republicans. Younger progressives, liberals, people who generally vote Democratic have a huge numbers advantage. But unfortunately, they're not the most reliable voters. And I hate saying that because why are we not the most reliable voters? Come on, get involved, get involved. That's what we're trying to do here. Midterms matter, et cetera, so that we don't have to worry about white, college-educated Republicans turning the election, turning the tide. No, younger people, get out there and vote. Okay? Become more reliable. And look, this is a great time to get involved because there are so many progressives in primaries. So there's your shot. If you want progressives, progressives are running. And progressives need your help. So you get involved in the midterms. And then, you get involved in the primaries first. Then you get into the midterms and you crush these Republicans. And it's not going to happen unless you show up to vote. So that's very, very important. Now, if the trends that we're seeing via polling hold up, and they look, we got to be very cautious about this because there's a chance that it might not hold up. And there's a chance that people could get overconfident and decide, you know what, we're going to win anyway. I'm going to stay home. No, get involved, stay involved, knock on doors, et cetera, right? Continue to stay involved the best that you can. But if all this holds true, November is going to be a slaughter, at least when it comes to the House, because there's a lot of House seats that are incredibly vulnerable. The Senate, not so much, because most of the seats are going to actually be Democrats defending their seats. So, but the House, there's a chance that Democrats could definitely take the House if this holds. Now, what does that mean for the Republicans? It means that Donald Trump is taking the Republicans down. Look, all we have to do is just look at all the people that have decided to quit. All these congressional Republicans that are like, all right, that's it, I'm done. Now, there's another reason for that, too. They got the Trump tax cuts passed. They basically enshrined these tax cuts into law. So their mission accomplished, man. Hey, we passed giant tax cuts for the rich. That means Democrats are fucked. Because now they're going to have to run on raising taxes or giant deficits. That's what Republicans do, man. They get into office, and what they do is they say, no, we can have it both ways. We can lower taxes, and we can increase spending. Now, what do they increase spending on? Military and corporations. They're giving out gifts, but they're giving out gifts to their corporate donors, while also slashing taxes, which is, I guess, a sort of a winning strategy when people are uninformed, when they think, oh, no, tax cuts, they will grow the economy, we'll have more jobs, and somehow that'll eliminate the debt. No, it won't. That is a lie. And they've sold that lie for decades. And Democrats have not been able to fight really against it because guess what? That makes them tack to the center. That makes them pull a Bill Clinton. It makes them go, oh, no, we have to cut entitlements now. It's so-called entitlements. We have to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security so we can go and pay off this debt. We got to pay down the debt that the Republicans ran up. It's a perfect scam. It is an absolute perfect scam. But anyway, to get back to the story, you're going to love the next quote. He said, quote, "It's like Forrest Gump won the presidency." I'm talking about Trump. "But an evil, really fucking stupid Forrest Gump. He can't help himself." Oh, I love that. I love that. Quote, "He's just a fucking idiot who thinks he's winning when people are bitching about him. He really does see the world as ratings and attention. I hate Forrest Gump. Damn, dude. Again, this is a conservative. This is a congressional Republican. Love it. Now, that same Republican, he's going to weigh in on the Mueller investigation. And you're going to love his response on that. He said the House Judiciary Committee just might pull the trigger if the president fires Robert Mueller. The shit will hit the fan, and if that happens, I'd vote to impeach him myself. Damn. And he says most of us would. I think, hell, all the Democrats would. And you only need a majority in the House. He says if we're going to lose because of him, we might as well impeach the motherfucker, take him out with us, and let Mike Pence take over. At least then, we could sleep well at night. Well, I'm sure the LGBT community and women would not sleep well at night with Mike Pence at the helm. Because, again, he is not only dangerous, but he's also confident. So that would be a big problem for us. Nonetheless, you could say, and some have, that was the whole plan all along. Get Donald Trump to basically sign whatever you put in front of him. For example, giant tax cuts that are going to add $1.9 trillion to the deficit, according to the most recent CBO score, which, of course, look, it's not going to do any good for our economy. Because Republicans, they're going to use that. They're going to use that to say, oh, look at that. We need to cut food stamps. We need to cut Social Security. We need to cut all these programs for regular people. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We've got a big debt. We got all this debt. And we've got to pay it down. Got to pay it down. And, of course, they'll probably get the Democrats to do it, to join along with them. Scam. But anyway, now, look, Trump, the situation, the circumstances that created a Trump presidency are actually, I think, hard to replicate when you think about it. I mean, look, you had neoliberal policies that helped create the disastrous economic situation that we have, free trade, for example. Yes, those are huge contributing factors. You also had fake news. You had faux populism, which Donald Trump ran on. And very importantly, you had lack of a decent alternative in the Democrats. People looked at Hillary Clinton and were like, nope. Look, hey, 3 million people more did vote for Hillary Clinton. Fair enough. But that wasn't the voters that she needed. She needed the voters in swing states. She needed the voters in the Rust Belt. And she did not deliver. So, thanks to the rules of the Electoral College, she lost. She lost to an orange clown. That can't be replicated. That stew cannot be replicated. So, I think 2020 is going to be a little bit harder. But it also might be harder for other challengers as well. I mean, it might be a little bit more difficult for example, somebody like Bernie Sanders to win. Then again, I don't think so, personally. But I don't know. 2020, still a little while away. We'll see what happens in the midterms. We'll see what happens when the progressives challenge the Republicans. I think they're going to win. So, but nonetheless, look, Trump is not, even though the situations that put him into office are sort of unique, Trump himself is not all that unique when it comes to the way that he's governed, right? The way that he's governed is basically he has hastened deregulation. He's done tax cuts. He's done everything that a regular Republican would do, policy-wise. The thing that sets him apart is just his demeanor while doing it. He's loud, abrasive, obnoxious, gets into Twitter spats and fights and all that stuff. So he draws undue attention to himself while doing the same kind of policies that the Republicans have always been pushing for, except for things on trade, which, by the way, latest news today, President Trump is thinking about jumping back into the TPP. Oops. So It all depends on who's around him. And he's got generals, war hawks. That explains what's going on with Syria. And he also has people who are pro-free trade. Larry Kudlow, for example. He's going to follow exactly what they're doing because he has no ideology of his own. But he is a typical Fox News audience. And he took over the Republican Party where the GOP base is most likely like him. Not very educated, not very savvy, very angry, and of course, glued to Fox News all the time. Remember, Donald Trump, as I said before, he is the Fox News audience. He is the base. And that base was cultivated in part by Fox News, InfoWars, and other far-right conservative media. It's also cultivated by a right wing, an ultra right wing that no longer accepts facts, that no longer buys into what is considered facts, factual information. They don't believe it anymore. They don't trust it. No, it's fake news. It's fake news because it doesn't fit my narrative. It doesn't fit what I believe it should be. Well, when you have a segment of the population that won't believe in facts, well, then obviously there's going to be some problems there. Okay, so look, he is a typical Fox News viewer, only rich. Now, look, speaking of conservative media, for example, we go back to some final quotes. I say a lot of shit on TV defending him, even over this, he tells Erickson. Now, look, that's a terrible job, but I don't feel sorry for him because he kind of asked for it. Publicly, these Republicans have all lined up behind him. Now, privately, of course, they're like, oh, we should get rid of this guy. And we've been hearing whispers about that before. Okay, right. Yeah, you want to get rid of him, but you won't stand up to him. Of course, there's reasons for that because 89% of Republican voters are pro-Trump. They think he's doing a fantastic job. However, if he causes a gigantic loss in the midterms, well, then you're going to have Republicans basically turn the cannons inward. They're going to go to a circular firing squad, which normally happens only with Democrats. But if it happens with Republicans, it's going to get very, very interesting. Now, finally, he says, quote, honestly, I wish the motherfucker would just go away. We're going to lose the House, lose the Senate, and lose a bunch of states because of him. All his supporters will blame us for what we have or have not done, but he hasn't led. So that sort of points out the difficulty in going against Donald Trump. You can't call him out because his supporters absolutely love him, and they have this cult mentality now. Like, no, Donald Trump, he's MAGA. He's MAGA. Everything he does is great. So if he can't do something, well, then it's because of the Republicans in Congress, the goddamn rhinos. They're not conservative enough. They're not doing what we want them to do, blah, blah, blah. It's not Trump's fault. It's their fault. And now, look, you have some Republicans as well, the evangelical voters, which, by the way, are a large part of why he won as well, a large part of why he was carried to victory. And these people literally believe that Donald Trump was put here by God. Well, God can't be wrong. We can't question God. So, look, we got to support Donald Trump. He was anointed. He was put here by God. So that makes it very, very hard for Republicans to speak out. And some have, of course, the ones that have spoken out, Bob Corker and Jeff Flake, guess why they're able to speak out? It's because they don't need to run anymore. They don't need to shill for these, maybe shill's the wrong word, but they don't need to appeal to these Trump-loving voters, this base. They can look at that 89% of Republicans that approve of his job and go, you know what, I don't care. I'm not running again. I don't need to beg for money. I don't need to beg for your votes. Now I can say it the way it is. So now I can call out Trump for being a complete douchebag. Now, you can point out, and this is a very fair criticism of both Jeff Flake and Bob Corker and other Republicans that have spoke out against Trump. they still vote for Trump policies because Trump does whatever the Republicans want him to do. He is stupid enough to sign whatever bill they put in front of him. And that's exactly what they wanted. And that is another reason that now, since he's causing so many problems, so many scandals, a lot of these Republicans behind the scenes are saying, if he gets impeached, we'll vote. We'll vote to impeach him. We'll get him out of there. We'll replace him with Mike Pence. So that, look, all the bad stuff that happened, that are our ideas, cutting taxes, regulation, we can just blame it on Donald Trump and we can have our own guy in there. And it'll be tremendous. And of course, he aligns with us on every single issue. That could be the plan. But finally, one more criticism on Trump. Quote, he wakes up in the morning, shits all over Twitter, shits all over us, shits all over his staff, then hits golf balls. Fuck him. All right. Hey, that is fairly clear. That's a Republican talking about Trump. Midterms are going to be a disaster. Just watch. Okay. All right, so I am seeing in the chat that there are people that want to talk about food stamps, welfare programs, etc. All right, so I'm going to skip to that story that was supposed to be yesterday. So we'll get to that. Now, just months after signing a bill that cut taxes... Oh, sorry. Hold on. I have a sidebar for that. Okay, let's try that again. Now, just months after signing a bill that cut taxes for the wealthiest Americans and giant corporations, Donald Trump, surprise, surprise, is talking about destroying welfare programs. Now, in an executive order signed Tuesday afternoon, President Trump directed the Departments of Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, Agriculture, and other agencies to make a top-to-bottom review of their safety net programs. They said the goal is finding ways to push more people into the workforce and off of welfare. You know what that means? Here comes giant cuts. Now, the order, they said, will restore independence and dignity to millions of Americans, according to Trump in a statement. Now, how do they plan to do that? Well, again, they're going to go after these programs by instituting rigid work requirements. Now, for example, work requirements that are already in Kentucky, Indiana, and Arkansas recently got the green light this year. And basically what that means, work requirements, is where able-bodied adults have to work as a condition of keeping their health benefits. Now, okay, well, look, if you're somebody who requires medication to live and to function, and you can't find a job, well, you're screwed. Oh, need your medication this month so you can live and function and work? Well, too bad. You got to work for it. If you can't find a job, sad day for you. Now, what about the people who can't find work, right? Or people who have health issues but are not quite disabled. And there's certainly only a limited amount of jobs that they can actually do, right? Like physically do, but without being disabled. Because disability has an incredibly high bar for you to be able to get. It's not easy to go and get disability. Oftentimes you have to apply more than 2, maybe 3 times, get denied, gigantic waiting periods to be able to even receive benefits. And you have to prove, of course, that you are disabled. It's not as easy as Republicans and some Democrats would like to point out to get on disability. It's actually very difficult. So, look, there are people in between that are filing for disability that can't necessarily work, that rely on these programs. What are you going to tell them? Go find a job. You've got to work. You got to work to get your medication. But what if you, as I said before, you can't find that kind of job that you're actually able to physically or mentally do? So that's very difficult, right? Now, Medicaid recipients, of course, look, they're not the only ones that have suffered cutbacks on their health care and on their benefits. In December, the Agriculture Department said it would give states greater control over the SNAP program, opening the door to potential new work requirements or drug testing. And of course, just today, Donald Trump said, let's drug test people for food stamps. Here we go. Here we go again, man. Look, it's been proven because a lot of these states have had trial programs where they would go and drug test welfare recipients. And you know what ended up happening? The state wasted a ton of money. And funny enough, these drug companies, often tied to some of the politicians that had helped pass these drug testing bills, ended up making a shit ton of money. That's all it is. It's just a gigantic scam to make drug testing companies money and also demonize people on welfare as people who do drugs. In fact, very, very few people that were tested in these pilot programs for welfare were found to actually be on drugs and were kicked off. The state spent more money on the drug testing programs than it actually saved. And look, in some of these, they might actually make the people getting tested pay. So that's disastrous in its own right. Oh, you're poor? We're going to make you pay to take a drug test to make sure that you can get benefits. But wait, I'm poor. I can't afford that drug test to begin with. How am I supposed to get benefits? I don't know, man. Sad day for you. I guess you don't get benefits in the first place. So we can take that money now as a government and go give it to the rich in tax cuts. See, they know how this is going. Now, that's not the only program. At HUD, Secretary Ben Carson has apparently limited the amount of help for people who need affordable housing. Oh, you're poor, you need affordable housing? Yeah, we're going to cut back on the aid so that you can pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But you ain't got no boots. You ain't got no straps. You ain't got nothing. That's why we're coming to you for help. That's why these programs are supposed to be in place. But of course, look, Donald Trump and all these Republicans that get put into these positions, they were put there by Donald Trump to eliminate these programs. And that's exactly what they're doing. And of course, they're going to use the gigantic tax cuts, the debt, the $1.9 trillion deficit that these tax cuts have created to justify these cuts. So all that is connected. That was the entire plan in the first place. So now, let me go to a statement here from Taryn Bragdon, president of the Foundation for Government Accountability. Now, this is a so-called small government group based in Florida who agrees with this. He says, despite there being 6 million open jobs across the nation, there's a record number of able adults trapped on welfare. Oh, they're trapped. It's such a terrible trap. Really? Is it? Oh my God, I can actually afford food this month because I'm poor and can't find a good job. And by the way, most of the people that are on food stamps actually do work. Either they work or they're children or they're actually disabled. So that's the majority of people on food stamps to begin with. But no, there's so many people, able-bodied adults, and we got 6 million jobs. Well, they can just go and get off the dole and go get one of those jobs. Well, are they good paying jobs? If they're not minimum wage jobs, if they actually do pay a living wage, okay, then great. You should maybe do job training programs, or find a way to connect those people with those good paying jobs. But if they're all minimum wage jobs, that's not going to help. That's not going to bring you out of poverty. $7.25 is a poverty wage, and that is the federal minimum wage. It's not going to help at all. Again, you're going to get these people into these jobs, and they're still going to have to collect food stamps. But he continues. This executive order is a strong signal that the Trump administration intends to change that. No, they don't. All they intend to do is to finally finish their dream of cutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, food stamps, housing assistance, and all these safety net programs for the poor so they can take that money and they can give it to the rich. That's what the plan has been all along. That's what Republicans stand for. Look, one of the reasons that I said Paul Ryan has decided to quit, other than, of course, having to deal with Trump, because nobody wants to do that, is that he's already achieved his life goal. By getting the gigantic Trump tax cuts passed, he has ensured that every politician in the future, Republican politician, has the ammunition to call for gigantic cuts in entitlement programs. Oh, look at the debt. We got to do something about the debt. And you know what's going to happen? Establishment Democrats, centrist Democrats, they're going to also end up having to pay off that bill. Look, what can we do? We can't raise taxes on you guys. We definitely can't raise taxes on the rich. We can't. What are we going to do? We're going to have to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. I'm sorry, we're going to have to do a grand bargain with the Republicans for deficit reduction. You don't think that's going to happen? It almost happened under President Obama. It most likely will definitely happen if we get another establishment Democrat into office. That's why we got to vote for progressives that will actually put forward progressive priorities, progressive policies. But anyway, look, Republicans, they admitted it. They hate the poor. They've said so themselves, and they want to, they'll go to no lengths to end up cutting the benefits that they need, all while simultaneously cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires. That has been the plan all along, and now, finally, they get to enact it. You think you've seen pain now? Just wait. Here comes austerity. Okay. Let's go to one more story. Since I was a little late today, we can do an extra story here. Let's go to Parkland. Okay. Now, so immediately after the Parkland shooting, Republicans started making the argument that we should arm more people. We should have more guns, in not only in classrooms, but we should have more guns in general. More guns because, look, hey, only a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun, right? And they also said, look, if teachers want to arm themselves in order to protect their classroom, then we should give them the rights to, right? I see that argument as well. Now, what's funny is that the gun isn't really going to do you good if you end up leaving it in the bathroom stall, which, of course, apparently that's what happened in this case. According to the Broward Sheriff's Office, the weapon was left in a bathroom by one of the teachers from Parkland, named Sean Simpson. Now, Simpson is a teacher at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where the shooting had occurred, who said that he would be one of the teachers willing to arm himself while on duty, right? Makes it sound like he's some sort of like law officer. No, he's a chemistry teacher. But he's like, no, hey, you know what? I'll arm myself so I can protect the kids. You can't say that the sentiment that isn't born from good intentions, right? From what happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, some people would be rattled in going to look, just like the kids were spurred towards going towards gun control. There are some people that are afraid that went the opposite way. All they want is for people not to be killed in class. There's just apparently different ways of how they get to it. This guy apparently is like, no, I think we should have more guns in the classroom, and I'm willing to go and get certified, take a test, and get my gun so I can protect the classroom. Well, unfortunately, you can't protect the classroom if you leave your gun in the bathroom. Now, according to the Miami Herald, by the time the chemistry teacher realized that he had left a gun in the bathroom, and by the way, this was not at school, this was somewhere else, his gun, which was a Glock 9mm, was already in the hands of a drunk homeless person who picked it up and had discharged it Now, luckily, nobody was hurt. That bullet ended up hitting the wall. Thank goodness it didn't actually hit another human being. That would have been an absolute disaster. Now, Simpson was able to successfully grab the gun away from the man, Joseph Spataro, who was charged with firing a weapon while intoxicated and trespassing. So he leaves the gun in the bathroom, realizes it later on. Oh, I left my gun in the bathroom. Shit, I got to go back and get it. By that time, a drunk guy picked it up and actually fired it. Oh, but we need more guns. We need more guns. Responsible gun owners, guys. Now, again, what happened to Simpson? Well, he was arrested and charged with failing to safely store a firearm. That's a second-degree misdemeanor. He was able to get out on a $250 bond. Again, thankfully, when that gun was discharged, that did not hurt a person. It did not hit a person, did not kill a person. But we've seen stories of where that has happened, especially with children. That's why, in my opinion, more guns is not the answer. More guns leads to more situations where someone could end up being careless with that gun. Look, the more guns there are, the more accidental shootings that you have, and the more shootings in general that you have. It's because people are forgetful, right? Sometimes they're careless in this situation. That doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they want to do harm. But human beings are imperfect. We make mistakes. That's why regular people shouldn't be able to carry guns everywhere. Now, look, if you want to store one in your house under lock and key in a gun cabinet, great. That's actually better than open carry everywhere and, oops, oh, looks like I left my gun in the bathroom. As if it's your car keys, or in this case, or in my case, I should say, I tend to leave my wallet in the bathroom all the time. Oops. But you know what? Nobody dies when a toddler or a drunk person gets a hold of your wallet. Although you might end up missing a couple bucks. But anyway. Well, the point is, we need regulation. And by the way, that regulation isn't necessarily about the guns. It's about who gets access to a gun and under what circumstances. And when they're able to carry that gun. And under no circumstance do I believe that a teacher should carry a weapon, especially in a classroom. Or you should not be able to carry it around school. Because look, while this was not the school, what's to say that the next time it won't be in the school bathroom? Where, of course, somebody can pick up that weapon, or that weapon could accidentally discharge, injure, or possibly kill someone. And that has, of course, happened a lot. There were stories of where a child, for example, put a gun in their backpack, dropped that backpack, and that gun discharged and hit somebody in the stomach. A child. Now, the more guns there are, the more shootings there will be. Deliberate or accidental. It doesn't matter. More guns equals more gunshots, equals more danger. That is not what you want to have in the classroom. And unfortunately, people like this guy haven't learned their lesson. Maybe he will, but I'm guessing he will not. Okay. All right, now I'm out of time. All right, everybody. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, let's see, subscribe. If you want to help out the show, patreon.com/TYTNation. That's how you can donate to the show. Keep us independent and non-corporate sponsored. That helps us out a great deal. Also, super chats as well, using YouTube super chat. That helps us out. And it's a good way to get out your message too, and make sure that I see what you're saying. All right. That said, that's it. We'll come back tomorrow. for another fantastic show. There'll be great Friday shows, so stick around. We'll have the food stamp story with Moby, and then more details on Donald Trump and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So all that stuff's coming up tomorrow. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.